Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the shop. Today, another day and another dollar. Today we are going to be doing a chair build, and this is for a repeated customer that ordered furniture in the past, and he ordered the farmhouse, the rustic look kind of furniture that he had ordered, and he wants me to do a rustic chair for him. But this one's a little bit different because it's got the rustic look. It's a farmhouse chair kind of build, but it's got a vinyl seat, if that makes sense. So it's kind of got modern in it with a little bit of rustic to it. Now, I'm going to show you, it's nothing like this chair here. This is a maple chair. This is more of a modern, up-to-date look with a cushion top, cushion back. He wanted the rustic look with, of course, a vinyl seat. So the main question that people always ask is what you put your backrest at. What degree is that angle? There's a lot of speculation with the degrees. Some people say standard and proper for your backrest to be leaning is 15 degrees. Some people say 20 and 30 degrees. I've even had some people say 15 degrees on the backrest, but bring this front elevation slope downwards 5 degrees. I've sat in chairs like that, and personally for me, when you sit in them for a long period of time, to have this elevated back, it's not comfortable. I get a sore backbone. To be honest with you, I don't think there really is a right or a wrong to building a chair. It's almost like a bed, a mattress. Some people say the best mattresses are the Posturepedic mattresses, which is great for one person, but someone else that lays in it, sleeps in it, will have back problems. They don't find it comfortable. Basically, a chair, a mattress, it doesn't matter what it is. I think that it depends on the person, the size of the person, the weight of the person, so on and so forth. If you're sitting in a chair for a long period of time, certain degrees is the way to go. I always do it at 15 degrees. That's a standard method that I always use, unless a customer specifies we want it more lean back because we're sitting in it all day, whatever they're using it for. So my standard is the 15 degrees. I always go to that degree because that's an everyday chair that, you know, you're sitting in it for a short period of time, you get up, you move around, you do whatever you do. 15 degrees is mostly a standard that I use. So the chair that I'm going to build is the height with the foam and the cushion and the vinyl. I'm going to say it's going to be anywhere from 18 to 20, sometimes 21, but you're pushing it at 21 for a height on a chair. Again, depends on the person, but standard is anywhere from 18 to 21. And then of course my back legs are going to be at 15 degree angle, and it's just going to be a rustic chair with a vinyl top, easy to clean. And your backrest is going to have 3 boards coming down in the middle at 5 inches. I'm going to go ahead and start marking out my back legs. I use a template for that, but for this time I'm just going to mark it out so you can see how I do it and the way I mark it out. So I'm going to bring the camera closer and get a good shot at it. Okay, hopefully you guys can get a good look at this. So before marking out the legs for the chair, I always cut the length first to the exact what I need. That's the best way to do it. That way there's no screw ups. So let's say this is the bottom of the leg. I'm going to bring this up to 2.5 inches. I'm going to make my mark at that side. On this same side, at the other end, I'm going to bring this up 1.5 inches. Going back to the other bottom, Where I marked it here to here is 2.5 inches. On the opposite side, I'm going to bring this up 14 inches. I'm going to make my mark. Then I'm going to add 4 inches to it and mark it at 18. I brought it up to 14 and then marked it at 18. I'm going to take my square and just draw a line at the 18, draw a line at the 14. I'm going to bring this in at 2 3/4. Mark it at the other end at 2 3/4. And I'm going to draw that line across. I'm going to take my big ruler and basically I'm going to connect the dots. So at the 2 3/4 in, I'm going to mark it at that line at the corner of the leg. Then I'm going to mark this corner to the other end of the leg. I'm going to move to this other far end. And that is the leg. I'm going to bring this. Okay, a bit of a recap on this. 2.5 inches in on the bottom end, the bottom of the leg. On the same side, I measured up 1.5 inches. Then on the opposite side, I went all the way up to 14 inches. I added another 4 inches and brought it to 18. I marked in 2 3/4 inches. Now I'm going to double check that to make sure I did the 2 3/4. Yep. Drew my line across and I just connected the dots on each corner. And that is the one leg. I'm going to cut all this excess off. You can do it any way you want. You're going to cut on the outside of the line. I'm going to use the bandsaw, cut that out. I'll mark out the other one. Do the same thing. I got these cut. As you can see, I cut them wild on the outside of the line. Best way to do it. Now I'm going to take it over to the sander and I'm going to sand it to that line. Now the first leg has to be to a point where it is perfect. It is the finished product when you sand it to that line. Don't worry about the second leg to get it to an exact match. I will show you how I do that. In the meantime, the first leg has to be bang on. This is all sanded down on the sander. It's all ready to go. I didn't sand this face down and I didn't sand this face down. There's no need to yet. On the second leg, I just cut it on the outside of the line. I didn't sand it. I can try to take this to the sander and try to sand it to that line. It's not going to be identical to the first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some two-way tape. I'm going to clean dust off this one. I'm going to apply a piece there, a piece in this middle. And one right here. I'm going to take the leg that I sanded down and I'm going to make sure that the ends are even, and I'm going to center it in the middle. By doing this, I'm going to take this flush cutting bit with the bearing on top. I'm going to set this up on the router table, and what's going to happen now is this bearing is going to ride on this top board, and it's going to cut the bottom leg exactly to the profile as the top, and that's how you get them identical. I got the legs all sanded. I did not sand the sides of them, just the front face and the back face. Before I separate these, I'm just going to make my marks for the backrest. There's going to be 5 inches. There's 3 boards 5 inches, 3/4 inches thick. I do have to round off the edges due to this is a softer wood. I'm just going to use the palm sander. Otherwise, I would use the router if it was a harder wood with a 1/4 inch round over bit. I'm going to mark this at 1/2 inch down. Then I'm going to mark it at 5 inches. I'm going to give an inch gap in between. We'll try that and see what it looks like. I can always erase the marks and mark it again at 5 inches. I'll give a 1 inch space. And again at 5 inches. So, to where the back piece is going to end up, you got a 5 inch. I think that will be fine. I'll take my square. I cut my pieces to 16 inches long. I was going to cut it to 5 inches, but I decided to leave it at the 5.5 inches. And I sanded everything down, ready for cutting in for my dominoes. Okay, so I just put this in front here, just so I can have something to work off of. I'm going to make 2 dominoes per side. I'm going to line it up to the marks, and I'm just going to run where I want the dominoes to be. So I'll put one here, put one here. I'm going to mark this as A so I know where they go. So now on this, I cut the biscuits on these, and I made it to the size of the biscuit. On the leg itself, I'm going to change it to the wider setting. That way it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to align my boards up to the legs. I'll do the same thing to the other leg, and it's ready for assembly. Now I made sure that these were all cleaned out. Now I will glue right across. As you can see, I'm making sure that these lines all line up. Glue squeeze out. It makes life a lot easier now to clean it now than later. Now that I have this in glue up, I'm going to start working on the front legs. The length, or the height of the front legs, they are going to be at 17.5 inches. I'm going to cut this to exact at 17.5 inches, and then I will cut the width. And I'm going to make these legs 2.5 inches wide. With the front legs being cut, now we can get onto the aprons. I'm going to cut them 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to run some 1x6 through the table saw and start cutting 2.5 inches wide, and I'll cut a few pieces enough to go around the chair. I have these all sanded down, cut to width, everything that I need. Now these are cut down to 2.5 inches. I'm going to start by cutting my aprons on the front and back. And I will pocket hole screw those in place. I'm cutting these at 16 and a quarter. Then the front apron, I cut it at 17 inches. Now for the sides, I'm going to make them 16 inches long on each side. And then I'll do the bottom aprons. So I'm going to cut 2 at 16 inches long. I got some 3/16 strips here. I'm just going to rest on the bottom there, just to give it a nice reveal. And just drive my screws in. Now that I have these screwed in, I got to screw in these side aprons. Because this is 19 3/4 and the back is 19 in width, the side aprons have to be cut at a 5-degree angle on each side. So I'm going to cut that on the miter saw, get the holes drilled, and then we can screw that in place. I'll figure out my bottoms, and that is going to get doweled in, so I'll undo the aprons again afterwards. And it's just so I can get it lined up. That's why I want to screw these in place, mark out the bottoms, and then go from there. I drilled my pocket hole screws into the apron. Now I did cut these at 20 degrees instead of 5 to get that proper V shape that goes to the back. And I'm just gonna put my 3/16 strips down, gives it a nice reveal, and drill these in with the 1.25" pocket hole screws. Now we're going to screw this bottom apron. Now that I got these complete, I'm going to run an apron on the bottom all the way around, going up 5.5 inches. But I'm going to make them smaller. Instead of making them the 2.5 inches that I did here, I'm going to make them 2 inches or 1.5 inches wide on the bottom. I'm going to mark 5.5 inches up on the leg, and that's on all 4 legs. So I marked out my centers on the aprons all the way around, and now I'm just going to get my domino machine and cut these in. I got this 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood I'm going to use for the seat. It's a little bit bigger than what I need. That way I can trace everything out properly, and it's more manageable on the table saw as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have enough overhang all the way around. I'm going to start off with this back. And I'll bring the camera closer so you can see what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark. I want to bring this over to the end on this back apron here. So I'm just going to mark these corners, and I got to bring it in 3/4 inch. That brings it in flush, which works out perfect. You have this apron here. The way I do it is I just mark it even with this apron. I'll flip the board upside down, and then I'll add whatever I need to add, whether it's a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch or whatever, and I'll do that all the way around. That way I have a line that I can mark off of. So I'll make sure I'm even in the back here. I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch. Mark a 1/2 inch at this end, and I will do that all the way around. And that's looking good. So we're getting ready for the staining process. I'm going to use a product called, it's a company called KNOTTY. And the color that we're using on here is Torched Oak Stain. The chair is pretty much done besides the seat. I do have to run my corner blocks in, and those are very crucial because that, a lot of people think that that is just more for support. It's a little bit more than just support. When you put a block in, you're supposed to put all the blocks in loosely, basically hand tight. If you notice on some of the chairs, they have lag bolts. And that's, so as you tighten that, let's say we have a block here and we tighten this. What happens is this leg tends to suck in. If you notice, if you have a chair, you take it home, you bought a brand new chair, it sits nice and level, nice and even, and then a year or 2 years later it starts to teeter-totter. A lot of people think, well, my floors are shifting. No, they're not. It's your chairs became loose. The bolt on that block, that corner block, came loose. And that's what happens when they come loose. Your chair is not stable anymore. So the way I do it, I actually have a jig here that puts these on. I will turn my camera to it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is the jig here that I use. It's an awfully big jig for something small, but believe it or not, this is what I use to install my block. So here's an example. Here's a chair. I drop the chair in its place. Now these are adjustable, depends on the width of your chair. I just pull these two pins out. This one slides out, the other slides out. This apron will drop into place. Now, if your apron is a lot lower, that's fine. You don't necessarily need this. I hook up my compressor to the line. I have a toggle switch on this side that I turn off and on, and what it does is it compresses the chair. So it squares everything. As long as I make sure that this chair is sitting flat on these blocks, it will compress the chair. Now I run the air at 5 psi. Anything more than that, that's a lot of pressure. I don't go that high. I just go 5 psi. Once it compresses it, I drop my blocks in. I pin each blocks in with brad nails on the corners, and then I'll drill my hole and run my lag bolt in the middle. I'll mark it, and then I'll torque it a half turn each one all the way around, and I keep torquing it until it's snug. And then that's it. I just release the pressure of the air, pull the chair out, and she's good to go. It's kind of a big contraption for something small like that, but what a massive difference it is on setting these corner pieces. I'll show you with the... Now I'm just running a cylinder that compresses this. That's hooked up to air with a toggle switch on the corner, and it works like a charm. So I am prepping to spray my sand and sealer. This sat overnight, and this is ready for the sealer coat. So I'm going to spray a sealer coat on, and then that is going to sit for probably about 20 minutes, give or take. Then I will sand it all down and spray 3 coats of the pre-cat lacquer. Now this is a Chemcraft product. So for the seat, I'm gonna apply some adhesive, and I'm using a 3M number 77. And I'm gonna spray a generous coat. I might do 2 coats. I wait for it to tack up. I will flip this over and I will trim off all the excess, the shape of the seat. Now I got some backing here that I'm going to use. These are just some strips I have. Instead of just, throwing them out, I'll use it on here. I'll wrap this top, and then I'll start cutting the leather. You want to make sure that you have enough to wrap around, at least 1 inch, 2 inches. We are good here. Double make sure on this side we're all good. Double check on each side. Now you don't want to overstretch it, but you want to bring it somewhat tight. And you're going to bring it from this corner into the center. And you just want to check to make sure that everything is good. And so far it looks pretty good. The excess you can always cut afterwards. Now I'm going to start back on this side, and I'm going to just start to pull and work my way out. You don't need all that excess. I never throw, when you're dealing with leather or vinyl, never throw these out. The reason why is because you can make these, you can fold, you can cut them nice and straight afterwards, and you can make little drawer pulls out of that. You can screw this onto a drawer, and this can be your pull. So never throw out your scraps. They're always good and handy to have. Now when I do my corners, I did cut this tip off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up like that. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to fold this so you get a nice fold. Now if it's too much, you can always cut the excess, but I like to bring it in into a nice fold. Now you can go either way. I will go this way. Now that I got this upholstered, I'm going to screw these clips in, and that's what holds the chair together. And I'm going to be using the number 10's half-inch screws. And that is that. It's all done. The only thing that's left is to put the bumper pads on the bottom. I'm going to just basically hand it over to the customer to do that. Once he transports it and brings it there, he can just stick them on. Other than that, this video is pretty much all wrapped up. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.